we go. Hi, and welcome to this Elementor Pro Basics webinar. My name is Ziv, and I'm a web designer and lead educator here at Elementor. And I'm really excited to help you use the internet's leading WordPress drag and drop site builder, Elementor. And what we're going to be doing during this webinar, I'm going to be giving you a breakdown of some of Elementor Pro's abilities by showing you how we used it to design the landing page for this very webinar. So these skills, they can also be applied to create attractive landing pages for your own business, help convert potential customers, could be hospitality industry, restaurants, software as a service companies, gyms, e-commerce, and a lot more. So let me just show you what we're going to be building. I'll go ahead and share my page over here. There we go. Okay, so this is the landing page we're going to be building. Okay, so what exactly is a landing page, right? So basically a landing page is a page on your site where visitors arrive on via some kind of advertising. It could be a Facebook ad, it could be a Google search. And the page itself is designed with a specific purpose to convert visitors into leads by taking a specific action with call to actions. And in our example, the purpose of the page is to convince the visitor to save a seat for this amazing webinar. So as you can see, there's CTAs, there's call to actions over here. And when we scroll down in the hero section here, we straight away can see also the next title over here, the takeaways you'll get from attending the webinar. And, you know, basically Elementor is really a great tool to create landing pages. What it is an advanced page builder. It allows you to build entire websites page by page with your own custom design. It's drag and drop, meaning that you work directly on the page. You can see the results in real time, exactly the way that your website visitors would. There's also very many advantages in using Elementor Pro, such as saving a lot of time and development costs, because Elementor Pro provides you with 50 plus Pro widgets, 300 plus Pro templates, and counting. It helps you design and build faster without using code. There's also a lot of features you can use to help boost your landing page conversions. With a lot of marketing and conversion widgets, such as the visual form builder, which we're going to be using today during the webinar. There's also powerful animations that can bring your site to life. As you can see over here, there's a subtle animation over here. There's motion effects going on, which we'll also use today. There's also a design-oriented pop-up builder that can be integrated with your favorite marketing tools, and there's a lot more. So I'll stop babbling, and also if you've got any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. We're going to be trying to answer them, and I'm going to be pausing every now and then to take some questions, to answer some questions. So let's dive in. So to start work with Elementor, we need to create our first page. So I'll just go to our dashboard over here, and in pages, I'll just go ahead and click add new. And what I'll do is I'll give my page a name, and I'll click edit with Elementor. Okay, now to start with a clean page, what we're going to be doing is we're going to go to the bottom panel on the left in page settings, and we're going to be going to page layout and simply choose Elementor canvas. So this is the easiest way to create a full blank page without a header and a footer, which basically is exactly what we need for our landing page. Okay, so let's get familiar with the Elementor interface. So on the right side is the editing area. This is where you can add and edit elements that form the layout of the page. And on the left side, we have the Elementor panel. So I'll press the widgets icon over here. These are creative tools. These are widgets, basically the elements that you add to your page, like headings, paragraphs, images, videos, and a lot more. And you can always access this area by clicking in the right top corner over here, the widgets icon. And over here, we've got global. Okay, so with this feature, you can save a widget as global and then add it to multiple areas. So all the areas, they will be editable from one single place. And I'm going to show you how to use that for the form widget, which we're going to be creating in a bit. Then we can go over to the hamburger menu on the left. And what we have over here is we've got more options like global default colors and fonts. And also you can click over here to view your page and exit to dashboard if you want to go back to your WordPress dashboard. At the bottom, we have another panel with more key features. Just like we saw before, we can enter the page settings over here. You can choose the layout. Over here is the navigator to get a clear overview of the page, which currently is empty because we haven't built anything. So I'll go ahead and close it. Over here we have the history to view the recent changes. And we have the responsive menu here for switching between screen modes. We've got mobile, tablet, and desktop over here. And over here we can preview the page before we save them. And when we're ready to publish, we'll just publish. And there are some other save options as well, which we'll go over. We'll go over soon. So let's take a closer look at how pages are built. Okay, so there's two ways we can start. I'll go ahead and start with entering the library. So here you can preview Elementor's pre-made blocks and pages. You can preview like so. You can go back to the library. All of the template kits are here as well. Your saved templates, which we'll use later as well, they're also over here. And here are the blocks. So I'll just go ahead and insert a block so you can see. There we go. I'll preview it and go ahead and insert it to our page. And let's just check out what we have, okay? So Elementor basically uses three main building blocks, sections, columns, and widgets. Sections, they're the largest, and you can identify them by their blue border, like you see over here. Inside sections, we have the columns, and you can identify them by their black dashed border. And inside the columns, we've got the widgets, okay? So we've got the heading over here. Here we've got the countdown widgets. And you can control the section, column, and widgets with their handle. Okay, so if you'd like to edit the section, you can just right-click over here. You can duplicate it. So now you have two sections. I can just simply delete it as well. I can also go ahead and add a new column, like so. And the widget here, I'll just simply drag it. Okay, if you want to position it, you can just drag and drop where the blue line, where you see the blue line, that's where it indicates where it's going to be positioned. So I can just really move it around, and the column over here I can drag as well to really play with the layout. So there's a lot of things I can do with the sections, the columns, and the widgets with their settings over here, which we'll be using when we're building our landing page. So let's just check out some settings that we have as well. The sections, columns, and widgets have three tabs in the panel on the left. The sections and the columns, they have a layout, style, and advanced tab. And widgets, they have the content, style, and advanced tab. And soon we're going to see exactly how these settings are used to create our landing page. But first, I'm going to be deleting this, and let's just go over the other way to add sections. And to create your page is by simply pressing plus over here, and you can simply choose one of these preset structures. So you can tweak them on the go as well. As you can see, we've got a section with 2 equal columns, a section with 3 equal columns, a section with 2 columns where the right column is larger than the left column, etc. Okay, so let's dive in and start building our landing page. Okay, so first of all, before I start building the section, I just want to set up some page settings over here. So I'll go to the page settings, and I'll go to style and give it a background color. Okay, now the reason why I'm setting this in the page is so I don't have to set this background color at every section, because our design, the background is all the same. So I'll go ahead and choose background type, and I'll choose color, and I'll give it this gray background. Okay, great. Now, another way to speed up my design process is I'm going to set default fonts. Okay, so as you can see here, default fonts, I've set them to Roboto, and soon you'll see exactly how that helps me out. Okay, great. So first of all, let's have a look at the first section that we're going to be building. As you can see, there's 2 columns over here. There's a logo, there's some text, and the call to action. When we press the call to action, we scroll down to the third section, and here's a nice interaction with some custom positioned images and motion effects, which we'll see exactly how we do it. Also, what we can see over here is we can already see the title of the second section, which draws the attention to want to scroll down and really read what the takeaways are. So I'll show you exactly how this is built. First of all, I'm going to be adding a section with 2 columns. Okay, and I'm going to control the height. Okay, so I'm going to go to, in layout, I'm going to go to height, and I'm going to set min height. And a min height means that no matter the amount of content inside the section, it will be at least a certain height. In this case, the default is 400 pixels, and I can increase that over here. But I'm going to be using a relative unit, VH, which stands for view height, which is in relationship to the viewport's height. So 100 VH is basically 100% of the viewport's height. As you can see, the top part of the section, the blue line, and the bottom, it takes exactly 100% of the viewport's height. If I set it to 50, it takes up exactly half. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be setting it to 80. And the reason that I'm doing that is the moment that I build the second section, you already you'll see the title, and that's exactly what we're looking for. This is the title that we're going to be that's going to be viewable basically when you first land on the page already. Okay, so let's go to style. So I'm in the section. I'm going to style, and I'm going to be choosing a background. I'll set the background to classic, and I'll choose an image. Okay, so I'll go to image, and I'll choose the white quarter circle. Let's see, this one over here, and I'll just simply insert it. And the first thing that I'll do over here is I'll just set it to no repeat, so it just appears once, and I'll position it in the top center. Okay, that's great. Now what I'll do is I'll enter my widget settings over here, and what I'll do is I'll just drag in an image widget into the left column. Okay, so you can see the blue line indicates where it's going to be positioned. And I'll go ahead and choose the image. I'm going to be choosing the Elementor logo. So I'll just go over here and choose Elementor. That's the logo. I'll just make sure that the image size is set to full. And I'll align it to the left. I'll align it to the left as well. Now what I'll do is I'll go to style, and I'll change its size. So I'll do that with the width. I'll set it to 25%. And a cool trick, basically, if you've got a color, a logo that you want to change, and you don't want to like create a new logo and export it and upload it, etc., you can use CSS filters. So I want to change this red logo. I want to change it to dark. I want to change it to black. So I'll simply just drag the brightness all the way down. So that will save me some time over here. The next thing that I'll do is I'll drag in the icon list. Okay, I'll just search for it in the search bar, and icon list, I'll go ahead and drag it over here. We're only going to be needing one item, so I'll just delete these 2 items over here, and I'll just click on it, and I'll change the text. I'll change the text to webinar February 20. Okay, that's today. There we go. Cool. Now, what we're going to be doing is uploading, we're going to be using SVG as the icon over here. So I'll go ahead and press upload SVG. I've already uploaded some SVGs over here. So I'm going to be choosing this live icon, and I'll just insert it. And I'm going to change the size. So I'll go to style and icon, and I'll just increase the size over here. I'll increase it to 60. That's cool. And in the text drop down, I'll style it a bit. So I'll change the color to black. And I'll increase the indent over here between the icon and the text. I'll increase it. That's cool. Next, let's go to typography. And over here, as you can see, the font family is set to default. Like I mentioned before in the default colors and fonts, over here, this is the Roboto, right? The Roboto that I set before, it's automatically applied, which means that it will save me some time as well. I don't need to select it. I'll just set the size to 22 pixels, and I'll change the weight to 500, just a little bit bolder. And the next thing that I'll drag in over here is a heading widget. There we go. And I'll go ahead and add my text over here. This is going to be the create your first landing page with Elementor Pro. So I'll just go ahead and add that. And as you can see, I added break lines over here. Basically, I used them to make sure that the text will always appear under each other. So that's why I used that. Now let's style it a bit. So I'll go to Style. And I'll change the text color to black. And in typography, also the default font family over here is Roboto. I'll just change the size to 70 pixels. And I'll set the decoration over here to underline. And I'll play around with the line height. Okay, so I'll change the unit to pixels. And as you can see, I can control the line height over here. And I'm going to increase it a bit to here. And the letter spacing, I can control that as well. So I'll bring them a little bit closer to each other. I'll drag that to -4. That's cool. Okay, great. So now we're ready to drag in our call to action, the button widget. So I'll go ahead and drag in the button widget over here. And I'll just change the text to save my seat. There we go. And over here for the link, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be setting the link to automatically scroll down to the third section, which contains the form, which we haven't created yet. So I'll show you exactly how to do that a little bit later. Next, let's style the button. So in Style, I'll go to Typography. Over here, I'll change it to Montserrat. And the size, I'll change to 16. I'll change the weight as well. And I'll set the transform to uppercase so it really stands out. It's always good to do that for buttons. And I'll play around with the letter spacing as well. I'll make it stretch out a little bit. I'll set it to 2. Okay, that's cool. Now, let's change the background color. Okay, I'm going to give it this pink-red. I'll give it a pink-red background color. So I'll just go ahead and choose background color. And I'll paste my color code over here. And I want to save this color to use it later on. So in my color picker, I'll just add picked color, which is really cool. If I want to get rid of it, I can just drag and delete it. And if I want to organize and reorder my colors, I can do that as well, which is really cool. Okay, so let's carry on. I'm going to be adding a border radius. I'm going to set it to 50 pixels all around. So it will become pill-shaped. And next what I'll do is I'll give some custom padding values. Okay, so in order to do that, first of all, I'll unlink all of the default padding values and I'll set them individually. So I'll give it 20 pixels on top and 20 on the bottom. And I'll give it 35 pixels on the left and on the right as well. So it's just a little bit bigger. Now what I want to do is I want to set some hover color as well. I want the button to change to a green color. So on hover, I'll change the background color. I'll go ahead and paste that over here. As you can see, it changes to green when I hover over it. And I'll also add a hover animation. I'll set it to grow, which really makes the button pop out, which is that's really cool. Okay, great. Now what I'll do is I'll create some space between the text over here and the button. In order to do that, I'll go to advanced. Okay, so we're still in the button widget. I'll go to advanced and I'll give it some padding. So I'll unlink the padding values. And what I'll do is instead of pixels, I'm going to be using a relative unit. I'll use percentage and I'll just add the padding on top. I'll just give it 5% like so. Okay, great. So now we're done with the left side of the left column. Okay, what I'm going to be doing now is I want the Elementor logo. I wanted to come out of the column, basically to lift it up. As you can see over here, it appears a little bit more above. So what we're going to be doing over here is we're going to be adding a negative margin. Okay, it's just something that I'll show you how to do. We'll go to advanced, and what I'm going to be doing is I'll unlink the margin value. And on top over here, I'll give it a negative value. As you can see, it moves out of the column, and I'll set it to -100. -100 pixels. Okay, great. So now we're ready to move on to the right column. What I'll do is I'll drag in an image widget. Okay, and I'll make sure that the size is set to full. And I'm going to be adding this cool image over here. Go ahead and insert it. And next what I'll do is I'll drag in a heading widget. I'll drag it in over here. And I'll change the text to my name. There we go. And let's style it a bit. So I'll go to Style. I'll change the text color to black. And in typography, I'll set this to Montserrat. I'll set it to 20 pixels. And I'll change the weight as well. There we go. And now in order to position it exactly where we like, I wanted it to appear closer to the image. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going to advanced as well. And I'll unlink the padding values over here. I'll change the unit to percentage. And what I'll do is I'm going to be giving a 25 percentage on the left over here. Okay, so as you can see, when I increase the left padding, it moves towards the right. So all of this is padding. And I'll set it to 25%. So that's great. Now, I'll go ahead and simply duplicate the heading. And I'll change the text. There we go. And I'm going to change the color over here. I'm going to change it to gray so it blends in there nicely. I'll choose Style. Go ahead and paste my color code over here for gray. In typography, I'll go ahead and change the weight. I want it to be a little bit thinner, like so. That's great. And I want it to move up a little bit towards the first heading. So again, in order to move it closer, I'm going to be unlinking the margin value in the advanced tab over here. And I'll change the unit to percentage as well. And I'll give it a -2%. As you can see, it moved towards the first heading. Okay, great. So let's just check out the first section, what we have so far. All we are missing right now is the custom positioned images over here, which we're going to be doing right now. Okay. Now for the shapes. So let's first of all drag in an image widget. So I'll go ahead and drag in an image widget over here. And I'll choose the big black semicircle. There we go. I'll insert it. And I'll just duplicate. And I'll choose the red square with the black semicircle. I'll insert that one over here. And now, in order to position them next to each other, what we can do is we can use the positioning option in advanced. Okay, so custom positioning is not considered best practice for responsive web design, so it shouldn't be used too frequently. But for this design, it's a very good way to use this. So what we'll do is I'll select the first image over here, and I'll just go to advanced. In positioning, over here we've got width. So I'll just change it to inline. And I'll select the second one and go to advanced, positioning, and change the width to inline as well. And we can position them even more accurately by setting the position to absolute. So I'll go ahead and select this image over here. And as you can see over here, we've got position options, and I'll set it to absolute. And as you can see, the second image jumped to the left. Okay, so this is because the moment that I set the black semicircle to absolute, it basically was removed from the flow of elements on the page. So I'll go ahead and select the second image, and I'll set its position to absolute as well. And as you can see now, they're both removed from the flow of elements on the page. So we can play with them, and we can position them so they look great. So I want the square semicircle image, I want it to appear in the top right corner, and the black semicircle on the left. So I'll start with the square and semicircle. So I'll go ahead and select that. And what I'll do is I'll go to the horizontal orientation. Okay. And I'll just set the horizontal orientation to right. Okay. And I'll leave the vertical orientation to top because I want it to appear at the top. And next I'll just play around with the offset over here so I can position them. What I'll do is I'll change the unit to percentage, so it's a relative unit, which is a better way to design for mobile responsive. It's basically it's a relative to the column that it's in, which is going to which will help us make it more responsive when we make edits for mobile and tablet. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and drag this. As you can see, it moves towards the left. I'll position it over there, like so, and I'll change this value also to the unit also to percentage, and I'll go ahead and drag this up a bit. Okay, that's great. Next, for the black shape over here, I'll just leave it at top left, the horizontal and vertical orientation, and I'll just change the units to percentage, and I'll go ahead and position them by dragging this offset sliders over here a little bit up. Okay, that's great. So another way to move them around is to just, you can drag them as well, as you can see over here. And in order to get it to the back to the original position, you can just simply set the offset values to 0. Okay, so when playing around with these advanced settings, you sometimes might get confused if an image might have disappeared. It most likely is positioned outside the page. Simply set the values to 0 again, just like I did, and you're good to go. There's also a great tutorial that I made that explains how absolute positioning works and how to use it when you're designing your page. So you'll get a link to that later as well. Okay, great. So I'll just go ahead and set these values back that I had before. This was 9, and let's see. There we go. And now let's bring let's bring these images to life with some motion effects. So I'll select the top left image over here, and in advanced we've got a motion effects drop down. Okay, and I'll choose mouse effects. So I'll switch the mouse effects on, and I'll choose mouse track, and by default it's set to opposite. Okay, so basically when I start moving my my mouse, basically it moves towards the opposite direction. So I'm moving over here. You can see the image moves against me over here. So I'll do that, but I'll change the motion. I'll change it to a little bit more subtle by controlling the speed. So I'll just drag it down a bit. As you can see, it's more subtle, which is cool. Now let's do the same with the image on the right. I go to motion effects. Okay, and I'll switch on the mouse effects, mouse track, and for this one I'm going to be setting the direction to direct. Okay, and I'll also make it subtle. I'll set it to 0.1. Okay, so now there's this playful interaction between the two, which is great. Now, in order to save some time, what I'll be doing is I'll simply duplicate both. Duplicate. Okay, so we've got another 2, and I'll just change this one over here to the white semicircle and the red circle. Okay, I'll insert that, and I'll go to advanced, and now what I'll do is I'll go to positioning, and I'm going to position it to the bottom left. Okay, so I'll go to positioning over here, and I'll go ahead and set the vertical orientation to bottom, and I'll leave the horizontal orientation to left. And what I'll do is I'll change the units to percentage, and I'll give them the value that I want for them to be positioned exactly where I want. Now let's go over to the fourth and final image over here. We'll also change it. I'll change it to the white triangle and this red quarter circle. I'll go ahead and insert that. And of course, we're going to be positioning this at the bottom right. So I'll go to advanced and I'll go to positioning. And over here, I'll go ahead and set the vertical orientation to bottom. Make sure that the values are percentage. And I'll go ahead and set these values to position it exactly where I want. Okay, so now that we've got this going, I'm going to just make a slight change, a slight adjustment for the motion effects to just make it even more playful. I'll go to motion effects, and over here I'll just choose mouse track. I'll set this to direct, and the one on the right, I'll go to motion effects and change this to opposite. So now there's a really playful interaction over here. Really looks cool. Okay, so there's a lot of things that you can do with motion effects. I just applied a mouse track over here. There's so much more, scrolling effects, etc. So I'll also send you a link to another tutorial that really covers all of the motion effects options. You really get a basic understanding of how it works and how you can use it to really liven up your pages. For example, you can use it on a restaurant website. You could add some custom position menu items with some motion effects. That could be an idea. Okay, great. So we finished with our first section. Let's just see if we have some questions over here. Let's have a look. Okay, so Laura Bortles, she said, is a landing page the same as the home page? Okay, so no, a landing page, it's got a specific goal to convert visitors, to convert them into to actual users. And a home page basically is the hub for a website with all internal links leading to about page, contact us page. And there's all different types of websites, of course. But the main difference is that a landing page is geared towards converting visitors, just like our webinar landing page, to make sure that you can join this really cool webinar. Okay, let's see. Alejandra Carolina, what size and format do I have to use before uploading to my website? It really depends on your design. Sometimes in Photoshop you can, slice it and export it in very specific dimensions to make it fit your design better on Elementor. So it really depends. And there's a lot of online tools you can use as well to help you out with that. Chris Kete says, I think negative margins are bad. Is that correct or not? Also, is it just part of Elementor to get used to using negative margins? First of all, they're not bad. Sometimes it's better to use them compared to using absolute position. So you might get confused with using absolute position. So I just recommend you to use it responsibly, basically. So I hope that that answers some questions. Let's move on to our second section. Okay. Let's first check it out. Okay, so these are the 6 takeaways you'll get from attending the webinar, where we have all of the 6 takeaways listed over here with icons and their text. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I'm just going to be adding a new section with 1 column. Okay, and I'm going to control its height. I'm going to set a min height of 60 VH this time. Okay, 60 VH. So it takes up 60% of the viewport height. And what I'll do is I'll set a background image. So in style, I'll go to background type classic. And I'll go ahead and choose the image over here. I'll choose this white circle. And I'll insert it with all of these shapes. First of all, set the repeat to no repeat, so it appears once. And now I'll position it. Okay. So I'm going to choose position, and I'll set it to top center. So now it's positioned in the top and in the center. And next, what I'll do is I'll just drag in a heading widget, like so. And I'll change the text. This is going to be the 6 takeaways text. So I'll go ahead and add that text over here. As you can see, I used a break line as well to make sure that from attending the webinar will always appear under 6 takeaways you'll get. Next, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and align it to the center. And in style, I'll change the color to black. And in typography, I'll change this to Montserrat. I'll set the size to 50 pixels and I'll control the line height over here. I'll change the unit to pixels and I'll control it. I'll set it to 60. Okay, great. And now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding some padding on the bottom over here for the next element that we're going to be adding. So I'll just go to the Headings Advanced tab and I'll just unlink the padding. I'll change it to percentage like we did before. And in bottom, as you can see, it creates some padding over there. I'll just add like 4%. Great. So now let's just check out the page over here, right? So we've got a heading and we've got another kind of like part or like section with 3 columns basically inside it. Okay, so we've got one main section with a heading, and then we've got another like inner section over here with another 3 columns and another 3 columns. Okay, so how we're going to be doing that is we're going to be using a widget called the intersection widget. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and show you how to use it. I'll just drag it in. As you can see, it appears inside. Okay, and over here we've got 2 columns and we need 3 columns. So I'll just simply right click to enter the column settings and choose add new column. Okay, so now we've got an intersection with 3 columns, and what we're going to be dragging in these columns are icon box widgets. Okay, so icon box widgets where we're going to be adding the icon and the text. That's what we need. So I'll go to widgets over here and I'll go ahead and search for icon box and I'll drag in the icon box. As you can see, got an icon, got a heading over here and a description. Now for the first icon, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be choosing, I'm going to hover over here and I'm going to choose upload SVG. I've pre-made some SVGs over here, and I'm going to be choosing, let's have a look. For the first one, I'll choose this icon and I'll insert it. And I'm going to be changing the text. This is going to be the create your first live page in WordPress with Elementor. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to delete the title because we don't need the title. I just want some basic text over here. So there we go. That's our text. And let's go style it a bit. I'll go to style, and in the icon drop down, I'll change the size. As you can see, I can control the size over here. I'll just set this to 60. Bring it down 1. That's great. And in the content drop down, what I'll do is I'll change the color of the description. Okay, so I deleted the title. We don't have to style that. There's only a description left. And what I'll do is I'll just change that to black. And in typography, I'll change this to Montserrat. And I'll set its size to 18 pixels. Okay, so this is the first icon box widget that I like. To speed up the process, what I'll do is I'll just right click the widget, copy, and paste it into the right column. And I'll do the same thing. I already copied it, so I'll just go ahead and paste it again. So now we have it appear, and now it appears 3 times, okay? And also because I want it to eventually appear 6 times, what I'll simply do is I'll just right click the intersection and I'll duplicate that as well. Okay, so we've got 2 intersections. Each intersection has 3 columns, and inside each column we have an icon widget. Okay, so this really sped up the process. All we need to do now is change all of the text and the images. So I'll start with the second one. I'll just choose the second one over here, and I'll go ahead and change the text. And I'll also change the icon. Now let's go to the third one. Find out about how to use widgets to build pages faster. Go ahead and change the icon here as well. For the fourth one, learn how to design stunning landing pages without code. As you can see what we're doing now. There we go, and I'll change this to this icon. Now the fifth one. Go ahead and change the text. Change the icon. And the last one. Preview and publish your pages to a live website. And that's the last icon over here. Okay, cool. So now in order to create a little bit of space between these two intersections, I'm going to be adding some padding. Okay, I'm going to be adding padding to the first intersection. So it will create some space over here. So I'll select the first intersection to enter its settings, and I'll go to advanced. And in padding over here, what I'll do is, actually now I'm going to use a margin. Okay, what I'm going to be doing is a margin because we want the space to occur outside the section. Okay, the padding is inside the section, the margin is outside, so I'll unlink that. And I'll change it to percentage. And I'll add it to the bottom. As you can see, it creates some space in between over here. That's the margin. And that's great. Okay, so now what I'm going to be doing is I want these the intersections. I want them all to come a little bit together. So what I'll do is I'll go back to the main section. Okay, I'll go to the main section over here, and I'm going to add some padding all around. So all of the content inside they move towards each other just a little bit to make it position a little bit better. So I'll go to advanced, and I'll go to padding, and I'll change it to percentage as well. And I'll just give it 3% all around. So that's exactly what I was looking for. And that's the second section. Okay, so we're moving along nicely over here. Let's see if there are any other questions. Okay. Okay, so we've got Robert Roth. When you're duplicating elements with motion effects settings applied, does the duplication take the motion settings as well? Yes, it does. We just did that. I'm sorry if it wasn't clear. The moment that you duplicate a widget, all of the settings that you apply to the widget, they're automatically duplicated. It gets exactly the same. This is why after I duplicated it, I actually changed the motion effects as well. You could see I changed the direction. So yes, I hope that answers the question. Okay, great. So let's move on to our third and final section. Let's first check it out. Okay, so this is the section where we've got a form widget. We're going to be styling it using the form builder. We've got a title over here, and also the button in the first section, when you click it, will automatically bring us to this third section. So let's start building this third section. Great. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding a section with 2 columns. Okay, and I'm going to give it a min height of 70 VH. And I'm going to give it a background image. So in style, I'll choose background type, and I'll choose image over here. And we'll choose this little red square. Go ahead and set the repeat to no repeat so it appears once. And I'm going to position it to the center on the right, like so. Now it appears on the right. And to save some time, what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to go up to the first section. I'm going to be copying the big heading and simply pasting it over here. And what I'll do as well is I'll just copy the icon list widget, and I'll paste it here as well just to save some time. And now I'll change the text. The text over here is going to be the save your seat. So I'll select the heading, and I'll go ahead and change the text. Now we need to style it a bit. So in style and typography, I'll make it bigger. I'll change it to 120 pixels. Let's remove the underline in decoration. We'll set it back to default. And in line height, we'll create a little bit more space over here. So I'll increase that like so. And that's great. Now let's create some space in between these two widgets. So what I'll do is I'll go to advanced. Okay, so I'm in the heading widget. I'm going to advanced. And I'll unlink the padding. I'll change it to percentage. And on the bottom, I'll just increase it like so, just to create some padding over here. Great. Now what I'll do is I'll position the widgets in this column on the left a little bit towards the left. Okay, so I'll create some space on the right by using padding in the column. Okay, so in order to do that, I'll just go to the column settings over here, and in advanced, I'll go ahead and unlink the padding. I'll change it to percentage as well. And all I'll do is I'll just give it 15% on the top, as you can see, 15 on the top. And I'll give it 15% on the right. Okay, so I've got 15% on the top and 15 on the right. So now all the text is positioned towards the left, which is exactly what I was looking for. And now we are ready. Now we are ready to drag in a form widget. Okay, so I'll go to the widgets. We're going to start designing the form in the column on the right. So I'll just go ahead and search for form, and I'll drag it in over here. Okay, great. First of all, I'm just going to give this form a name. Okay, so this is going to be create your first LP webinar. I'll do that like so. Okay, and that's just the name for the form, right? We can't see it. And what I'll do is I'll enter. Here we've got all of the form fields, right? You can see name, email, messages. That's what we see here. So I'll just go to the messages field, and I'll change the placeholder text. Okay, that's the text that you see inside the field. So I'll just change that to what are your expectations from the webinar? So I'll just go ahead and add that in the placeholder. As you can see, it appears over here. And I can also control the amount of rows over here. So I'll just change that to 3. So it's just a little bit less. That was 4. This is 3. Great. So I'm going to be keeping the name field, the email field, the message field, and we're going to be adding a new field, a new item. Okay. And when we do that, we can choose the type. So I'm going to set the type. We've got a lot of choices over here. I'm going to choose text area, just like the message field. And I'll give it a placeholder text over here. How long have you been using Elementor? Okay, so you can fill that in over there. Great. I'll change this to 3 rows as well. And I'll change the input size to medium. So it just makes everything just a little bit bigger. And next, I'll just hide the label. As you can see, message, email, name, it all disappears. That's cool. That's what I want for my design. And next, let's go over to the submit button drop down. And over here, I'm going to change the button text. I want it to say save my seat. So in text, it's going to say save my seat. And I want the button to be aligned to the left. Okay, great. So in the next drop down, we have actions after submit. Okay, what we can do over here is we can add, for example, MailChimp. Okay, and the moment that I do that, you'll see that there's a MailChimp drop down, and in the drop down you can choose the API key, and you can choose the audience as well. So I'll also send you another link that you'll get that explains basically how to use this for email marketing platforms, which you can set up with forms to integrate with Elementor Pro's form builder. It also includes the additional options where you can add a form ID, and you can also set up custom messages. Okay, great. So let's style the form. I'll go to style. And in the form drop down, I'm going to go to rows gap, and I'm going to increase it a bit. That's the space between the rows over there. I'll do that. And let's go to the field drop down. Let's style that. I'm just going to change the text color to a little bit darker gray. I don't know if you can see it, but it's just a little bit darker. I'll also go to typography over here, and I'll increase the letter spacing. I want it to spread out a bit. As you can see, it spreads out. That's good. I also want to remove the border. I don't want the border to be there, so I'll just set it to 0. So there's no border whatsoever. And I wanted to make it pill shaped as well, so I'll just give it a border radius of 25 pixels. And in the button drop down, we can style the button. What I'll do is I'll set the background color to red. Okay, so I go to background color. And here's the red that we saved before. It's in our color picker, easy and accessible. So I'll just quickly select that. I'll set the text color to white. Okay. And in typography, what I'll do is I'll set this to Montserrat, 16 pixels. Set the weight to 600, a little bit bolder. Uppercase. That's great. I'll play around with the line height. Okay, make it like so. That's great. And the letter spacing as well. Just play around with it. Okay, that's cool. And next, let's make it pill-shaped as well. Border radius, 50 pixels all around. And I want to give it some custom text padding over here. So I'll unlink the values. I'll leave it at pixels. And I'll simply set 15 pixels on top and 15 pixels on the bottom, and 35 to the right and 35 to the left. Okay, great. So now what we need to do is we need to position the form a little bit better in the column in relationship to the left column. So what we're going to be doing is we're also going to be going to add some padding to the column like we did before. So I'll go into the column settings here. And in advanced, padding, I'll go ahead and unlink the values. I'll change the unit to percentage. And I'll go ahead and give it 15% on top, as you can see. I'll give it 15% on the right. And I'll give it 15% on the bottom. And on the left, I'll leave it as is because we already have the space over here. So now it's positioned exactly the way I like. Okay, so like I mentioned before, we can save widgets as global widgets, which means we can use them all over the site and we can edit them in one place. And this is going to come in handy when we create multiple landing pages. In order to do that, simply right click and say save as global. And here I'll just call it webinar form and then save. And as you can see over here in global, we've got a global widget and we can just edit it and we can drag it in on new landing pages that we use. And all the changes that I apply here, you can see there's this orange border over here. All the changes that I apply, they'll be applied everywhere I've inserted this global widget. Okay, so now all that we need to do is set the button in the first section to scroll down automatically to the third section. Okay, so we wanted to scroll to the third section, which means we need to go to the third section settings. Okay, and in advanced, what we're going to be doing is we're going to give it a CSS ID. We're going to be adding that over here. This is just a name. It can be any description or any description word that you want. Just make sure that there aren't any spaces. So I'll go ahead and choose save seat. Okay. And what I'll do is I'll copy this. And very simply, I'll just go to my button settings. Okay. And in content, like I mentioned before, in link, just make sure that the pound key is still over there and just paste the CSS ID that you added, save seat. And the moment that you do that, the moment that you press the button, it will automatically scroll down to the third section. So that's really cool. Now, let's just open up the navigator, okay? Like I mentioned before, the navigator was empty because we didn't build anything. Now we've almost finished our page. All we need to do is just tweak it a little bit for responsive and mobile. So I'll go ahead and open up the navigator. And as you can see, all of our content over here, we can see everything. Okay, so we've got all of the sections. We've got the 3 sections over here. And inside the sections, we've got the columns. And inside the columns, we've got all of the widgets. And very cool, you can just press, you can click it and it will drag you automatically to the column. And you're in the column settings already. Let's go to second section. We're automatically in the second section. So this is really comes in really handy to get an overview of your page. And another cool thing is you can double click the section over here and you can give it a name. So I'll call this the hero section. Okay, and the second one I'll call it takeaways section. Okay, and the third one I'll call form. And this will help us out when we're busy tweaking as well for mobile and tablet. So we really know what we're doing and what widget we're actually on and what we're editing. So that's cool. Now, another cool thing is that you can see over here, let's just open up. We've got custom positioned images and motion effects. We've got them in the first section in the second column. Okay, so the first section in the second column, as you can see, there's a blue label over here indicating that we've got custom positioned images and we've got motion effects as well. So this is really cool. We can really get a clear overview of all of the things that we added to our page, which really comes in handy. Okay, so potential customers, they'll view this page on the mobile devices. So also let's see how to make some responsive adjustments to make your design look great on mobile as well. What I'll be doing is tweaking the first section so you can see exactly how it works. What you need to do is just simply enter the responsive mode over here. And what I'll do is I'll choose tablet. And I just want to show you a quick tip. I don't know if you already know it or not, but it's something that I use when designing for mobile and tablet, is using the column width setting. Okay, so what I can do over here is I can give the left column, for example, I can set it to take up 60% of the entire width, and I'll just select the second column and I'll set that to, it needs to be 100%, right? So I'll just set that to 40. Okay, so now we've got 60% and 40%. And this is only applied on tablets. So this is the responsive tablet handle over here. So this is only for tablet, right? So I'm not going to be using this. I'll just go ahead and delete it. And I'll delete the 60 that I set. And what I'll do is I'll go to mobile. Okay, there we go. And I'll just go ahead and I'll go to the first section. So I'll just simply click hero. As you can see, I'm already in the hero section settings over here. And I'll go to advanced. And as you can see, there is a responsive drop down. Okay, so there are a couple of responsive settings that you can use over here. The first one is that I want to show is reverse columns. The first column here is with the text, the webinar. The second column is with the images. So the moment that I choose reverse column for mobile only, anybody that opens this page on mobile, they'll first see the image and then they'll see the text. So this might come in handy when you're trying to create a specific layout for mobile that's different on desktop. So you can use that. And another powerful tool that you can use is the visibility. So you can also choose to just hide this whole section if you want to on mobile. So just choose hide, and it's grayed out, indicating that it's hidden. So you can just, the moment that you hide the panel over here, you don't see it anymore. Okay, so it's not there on mobile, which is great. Now I'm not going to be doing that. Okay, so first of all, let's start tweaking this for mobile. Okay, I don't know if you paid attention, but the Elementor logo over here basically just disappeared because we gave it a negative top margin in desktop mode. Okay, so whatever you define on the desktop mode, it's automatically applied here by default. So first of all, what I can do to find it is I can just go to hero, It's in the first column that I know, and I've got an image over here. Okay, I already know that it's this image because there's only one. But if you want to check content over here, now I'm 100% sure that that's the logo that I was looking for. And as I mentioned before, let's go to advanced. All of the settings over here that I set in default, the negative margin, they're automatically applied. So technically there's a negative top margin of 100 pixels. In order to remove that, simply unlink the values. Okay, so at the moment that I unlink the values, the negative 100 pixels just disappears. And now we can set them individually for mobile, for this mobile responsive mode. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to style, and I just want to increase the size of the logo. So over here you can see I've got the width. As you can see, this is the mobile responsive handle for mobile. I can set it for tablet and desktop. Everywhere you see these mobile handles, the responsive handles, means that you can change this value for either mobile, tablet or desktop. And it's only going to be applied for that device's screen size. So what I'll do is I'll just drag this, I'll increase the size a bit, 40%. And what I'll do is in content, I'll align it to the center. And next, I'm going to tweak the icon list widget. I'll go to style, and in list, I'll also align it to the center. And in the text drop down, I'll just change the text size. So in typography, I'll just change the text size to 16. As you can see, it fits a lot better now when it's smaller. What I'll do is I'll also go to advanced. Okay. And I'll unlink the padding over here. And I'll change it to percentage. And I'll add some padding on top to create some space. Okay, that's cool. Next, I'll select the heading widget. Also over here, what I'm going to be doing is in content, I'll align it to the center. And in style, I'm going to be changing the size. It needs to be a lot smaller. 36 pixels. Need to play with the line height over here as well. I'll just set this at 48 pixels. There we go. And the letter spacing, I'll play around with that as well, -2. Okay, that looks cool. Okay, that's great. Now, what I'll do is I'll go to advanced, and I'll also unlink the padding over here. I'll change it to percentage, and on top, I'll create some space. Next, I'll go to the button widget. I'll align it to the center, and I'll just go to advanced over here, unlink the padding, set it to percentage, and add some padding on top, some padding on the bottom. And I've chosen to not show these custom positioned images on mobile. So basically, I'm going to hide them on mobile. Like I showed you before, simply select it, go to responsive, and over here we can just choose hide on mobile. So it's grayed out. Okay. I'll just go ahead and select. I'll select this one as well. I'll go to positioning. Sorry, I'll go to responsive, hide on mobile, and on the bottom left, I'll also go to responsive, hide on mobile, and the last one, responsive, hide on mobile. As you can see, now we don't see the custom positioned images on mobile, which is great. Okay. Now let's select the image over here. There we go. That's the image. And I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. Okay, so for width, I'll go ahead and drag this to just make it smaller, 60%. Once again, responsive handles over here. This is only for mobile. It's going to be this size for mobile, and that fits a lot better. Okay, now let's go back to the section settings. So I'll go ahead and scroll up and choose hero. And I want to change the background image that we set over here. I don't like the way that it looks on mobile. So what I'll do is I'll just go to style, and I'll go to background over here, and I'll just change the position. Okay, the position is also mobile responsive. I'll change it to top right. So now it's positioned over there, and I'll give it a custom size. Okay, also mobile responsive. I'll give it a custom size, and I'll set that to 50 pixels. Okay, let's see. I think that's it. That's good. That's great for my mobile. What I'll do now is I'll just close the navigator, and I'll go back to desktop mode over here. Okay, great. So we're nearing the end of the webinar. Are there any questions? I'll just have a look over here if there are any questions. Let's have a look. Is there a specific theme in WordPress that works well with Elementor, or it doesn't matter of the theme? Okay, so especially if you're an Elementor Pro user, you should go with Elementor's Hello theme. It's very lightweight and doesn't come with a lot of bloat that other themes do come with. And you can really use all of Elementor's features basically to create a lot of things. If you're creating landing pages, if you're creating full-fledged websites, I would go for a Hello theme. Let's have a look to explain the difference between padding and margin. Okay, let's just quickly have a look over here. As you can see, we have, let's see. We have a section. Okay, so inside the section, all of the space that we've got inside it, that's basically padding. Okay, so we go to advanced. As you can see, this is all 3. So I'll just increase it. The moment that I increase it, it adds the padding, okay, on the bottom over there. Well, actually, this is on the top of the section, so it adds the padding. I'll set it back to 3. And if I choose margin, okay, let's say on top, and I'll change it to percentage as well, then it creates space above it, in between the 2 sections. Okay, so that's the basic explanation. I hope that it's clear. Okay, cool. Let's see. Are there any other questions? Okay, so I just want to remind you that the video is going to be available on the channel. I'm going to be, let's have a look, wrapping up the webinar soon. So the last thing that we need to do basically is we can preview the website and we can publish. Okay, so I'll go ahead and press preview. Here we've got our page. The moment I can interact with it, the moment that I press save my seat, it brings us to the form directly, and that's great. So I previewed it and I'm happy with it. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and choose publish. Okay, so everybody with this link, they can check out your live page, and they'll be able to see it. And what you can also do is you can save this page as a template. So basically what it does is it adds a template of the entire page to the library. So I can call this landing page pro. Okay, so this is a template. I'll save it. And this way, as you can see, I've got templates over here, landing page pro. I can preview and insert it. I'll go ahead and close this. And this way you can use and reuse pages very quickly, which will save you a lot of time. And you can simply access that over here. You can insert it on a page. You can insert the whole template like so. You can also do this for sections. If I want to use this contact us or the contact page, the form section, if I want to save this as a template, I can right click the section and choose save as template and just call this form template like so and just save it. And there we go. We got the form template, which we can simply insert. So I'll just go ahead and choose insert on the page, and now it appears twice. So I can just use this. I can use this very easily on the fly to create to create these landing pages. Another tool that really saves a lot of time is the Finder. Okay, to use it, you can simply click Command or Control E, depending if you're on a Mac or if you're on a PC. So I'll go ahead and choose Command E. As you can see, we've got a Finder over here, and you can search for where you want to go, what you want to do. It essentially is a search bar for that offers easy navigation between different pages and dashboard settings. What we can do is we can also create a new page very quickly. We can switch between pages, preview pages. For example, if I type in add new, I can very easily add a new page, etc. Okay, so let's just bring myself back into the frame over here, like so. There we go. Okay, so this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more that you can learn. Elementor Pro provides you with a lot of tools to create highly converting landing pages, also full-fledged websites, such as the form widget that we use today, motion effects to really help bring your design to life, pop-ups to keep your visitors engaged, a theme builder to visually customize your website's headers, footers, archive pages, single post pages, and a lot of other areas on your site, and a lot more. Also, the more that you learn, the better you'll be able to design and really improve the workflow. So I hope that I managed to bring across my workflow, and I hope it helps you out with your to improve your own skills. And I really think that you're ready to take your first steps and create your own landing page and really, proudly publish them and make them and make them go live. I'd like to invite you to join our Facebook group. They're really full of loads of helpful tips and tricks. A big community of like-minded web creators. Everybody's helping each other out to become better at what they do. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's full of all different types of tutorials to really help you master Elementor. And lastly, on our website also, we can check out the Help Center for easy access to the knowledge base, FAQs, docs, and a lot more. Let's see. Okay, and also, lastly, I'd just like to remind you that we'll send a link with all of the materials that are needed to create this specific landing page. So you feel free to rewatch it. You can recreate the page step by step. Also, it's very important to know that you can apply these skills to create your own attractive and converting landing pages for different types of businesses, not per se for webinars. Like I mentioned before, hospitality industry, restaurants, software as a service companies, gyms, e-commerce, and a lot more. So I wish you good luck. And most importantly, it's always important to enjoy being creative. So thanks for tuning in, and ciao for now.